Greg Jaczko, the chairman of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, joined me, and I asked him when we can expect to see those new reactors come online.
Well, the agency is working, I think, through our process of reviewing applications in a very, I think, effective and efficient manner, of course focused on safety. And we're getting to the end of our process, and probably sometime within the next year or 18 months, we may be making some final decisions, maybe issuing licenses in that time frame.
And those would be in the southern part of the United States?
The most likely projects are projects in the southeast, Georgia, South Carolina, and potentially in Texas.
Talk to me, since you're up here in the financial capital, about the conversations you're having on Wall Street right now, about the willingness to finance some of these projects or to put money to work in some of the construction companies that are helping to build them, because there still is that safety worry overhang.
Well, there seems to be a lot of interest in the existing fleet of reactors, perhaps more than I've seen in the past. In the past, when I've come to talk to the Wall Street community, there has been a lot of interest and discussion about the new fleet. But this time, there seemed to be more of an interest on what's happening with the existing fleet. Will existing plants operate longer than their 40 years of licensing, or maybe beyond 60 years? So there seemed to be more of an interest in looking at the existing assets and keeping those operating. And of course, as a safety regulator, we're going to make sure that the focus is always on ensuring that those plants are safe and secure and they meet all our high standards. So
does interest also mean more willingness to put money to work in some of these projects, do you think?
Well, I think that'll be interesting to see. Certainly, I think if you look at the new reactors, we see interest in probably a small handful of plants. Right now, the agency is reviewing 13 applications for new nuclear plants in this country, but probably only 3 or 4 of those are really likely to move to construction if they get their licenses.
So let's talk about the waste that's going to be produced as a result of that. There's a fair amount of controversy, in particular, over one of those sites in Nevada that would be a waste disposal area, Yucca Mountain, and as I know you know a lot about here. I know your agency has already voted on it. When are we going to hear whether that's going to be happening?
Well, there's several aspects to our review of the Yucca Mountain project. One of them involves a very complicated legal proceeding, and just like judges in federal courts, that's not something we can necessarily predict an outcome for, nor really discuss the details on. The other aspect of it is really some of our more nuts and bolts budget work and resource planning. And right now, we're focused on a process of really closing down some of the review work that we're doing.
So how close are we to an announcement then, in the interest of transparency?
Again, it's probably not one I can
you
say
can't even
one
give
way
us
or
a
the other.
timeline on
Not really, because that gets us too close into kind of the discussions and the deliberations. But it's certainly an issue that's important to the agency, and the Commission is focused on it.
What other options are there besides this one site? Where would the nuclear waste from these new plants theoretically go? Well,
bottom line for the NRC, we want to make sure that it's safe and secure wherever it is. And right now, we know that this fuel can be maintained safely and securely at the reactor sites where it is, and probably for decades or even more. We know that can be done safely and securely.
So theoretically, in those same southern states where the reactors are being built?
In those states, or even in the states where there's existing reactors right now, we're looking at the possibility that some reactors will get 20-year extensions to their life. Some of them might even come in and ask for additional 20-year extensions. So there's really a long time before we would likely see all of the reactors in the country moving to a process of kind of reclaiming the land and dismantling the reactors.